My name is Maria Juarez, and you're listening to In This Casa. Bienvenidos. In this podcast, I aim to memorialize and honor my husband David's memory by exploring conversations about life and what it's like in my casa, and hopefully in other casas as well. Welcome back to In This Casa, and thank you for joining me. In this episode, we have a lot of catching up to do, so let's catch up. It's been at least 2 months since I published my last episode. I believe that I published it in July, like July 12th, I think. Not too long after I brought Sarah back from California. I went back to get her at the end of June, I believe. And we drove back for the summer from her college in the Central Coast. And I had every intention of continuing to upload to the podcast every Saturday. And I still do. It's my goal, and I want to do this every single week. But this summer kicked me in the ass. I think I guess everybody probably in my situation or circumstance would be doing the best they can, pushing themselves the hardest. Sometimes I think I'm letting myself rest. Sometimes I'm like, no, I'm clearly pushing myself. I don't know, but I just feel like my expectations of what I was going to be able to accomplish this summer and handle was not anything like what reality ended up being. And I didn't really think about it until after Sada got home, because this was going to be the first stretch of time that she had been home since her daddy died. Like long stretch of time, because in 2023 and last year when David passed away, he passed away August 12th. That was a Saturday. The following Saturday, we buried him. And then 3 weeks later, Sada and I were on a flight back to California for the beginning of her sophomore year. She came home for Thanksgiving. She came home for a few weeks over Christmas. But since she's in California, they do 2 quarters in what's normally a spring semester in Texas. And so the first week of January, we were headed back to California because we were driving her car out there. And then she didn't come home for spring break. So this was going to be the first time she was going to really, really be home. And, we were going to together be adjusting in our home without David, without her daddy and without my partner in life and the love of my life. And I just really underestimated how that was going to affect me as well. I thought about it as we were driving back, like, oh, this is going to be really hard on her. Because to be completely honest, her and I had a really rough drive back from California. We both ended up being sick. It was a 3-day drive to get us home. It's just the two of us. I was sick too. I didn't get sick until I got to California. She was sick when I arrived, but we had to get home. So I just powered through and I got us home, and it was difficult. And she slept through a lot of the ride. I did a lot of thinking and crying and obviously driving, but during that drive, I thought about how this is going to be hard on her this summer. And since I was 10 months into losing David, I just really overestimated where I was emotionally as a parent and as a partner, still adapting to his loss and dealing with my emotions. So all that to say, we had a really rough summer. I mean, obviously parents and kids and families have hard times. So she's back in school now and we're good, and we will continue to adapt and adjust. But it was rough. It was definitely rough. And not just for me and Sarah, it was rough for me and Sarah and Bella. And so, we're working on it. The 3 of us are working on it together. But yeah, I really, really underestimated how hard this was going to be. I also, I mean, I knew that David's 1 year anniversary of his passing was coming up at that point too. And I had originally thought like, I'm not going to do anything. I don't, I want to just go like staycation in a hotel with my family and just hide from everybody in the world. And then as we got closer to his anniversary, I changed my mind. And I was like, no, I want to be wherever his spirit's going to be. His spirit's not going to come find me at the Ritz-Carlton, so that's not going to work. So I decided to stay home and to create a small ceremony here in the house in David's favorite place in the world. So we did a sound bath here for mine and David's closest family. And it was really beautiful. I catered dinner, and it was the right way, I think, to celebrate and honor that moment for him with our family. But, it was emotional and it was hard. And I think I've mentioned this before that my personality is to be really good with like crises. So like leading up to it and planning it, I do good. But then like after execution, like I puddle. I just dissolve. And so we got through that. And then right after his anniversary, we were packing to get Sarah on the road to go back to California again. And we were going to be in California moving Sarah in during David's birthday. So for that particular trip, I knew that I was going to have to tack on an extra day or two to moving Sarah in because David's birthday is in early September. It's September 4th. And I didn't want Sarah to be halfway across the country by herself during her dad's now second birthday after his passing. So I planned on a longer trip. And discussing it like with my mom and my sister-in-law, we decided to like make an actual trip out of it because Sada and I were going to have to drive anyway. It was going to be a road trip. And it just so happened that Bruno Mars had his last Vegas show until the end of this year on September 1st. And my mom loves Vegas, and we haven't been there in a long time. The girls and I and David had seen Bruno Mars a couple times, but my sister-in-law and my mom had never seen him. So Sada and I drove a couple days up to Vegas. Then my sister-in-law and my mom flew into Vegas, met us. We picked them up, and we went to go see the Bruno Mars concert, which was amazing, and my mom loved it. And then we spent a day in Vegas. Sada and I won $3,000 on slots. We went to Bruno Mars's club. And then we went on to California. And we got to California. We got Sarah situated. Then we had a really nice dinner for David's birthday, which I really intended to make it through without crying. And that didn't happen. I mean, I knew I was going to cry at some point, but I was trying to make it through dinner, and I didn't even make it like to appetizers. But it was a great dinner, and David would have loved it, and it was a great trip, and we got Sada moved in successfully. Although, it does feel like the universe has been transpiring against me. I'm trying to think in my head that like the universe is not transpiring against me, that I must be up for some really big fucking blessings because shit's been hard, and like everything just continues to be like so difficult for no reason. I mean, like this summer, the difficulty that I had with my girls, I feel like was completely unnecessary. And, part of it's because they're young. Part of it's because I'm trying to figure out parenting on my own, and it's difficult, and I'm not happy. And, we probably, all three of us were making things hard on each other unnecessarily. And there's just been difficulties. And like, even on that trip, it was a great, great trip. But at the end of it, my mom and my sister-in-law were supposed to leave on Thursday. I was going to leave on Friday because on Thursday I had to move Sada into her dorm. Their flight got canceled. San Luis Obispo only has like one regional airport that flies American Airlines, one direct flight in and out daily. That's it. Just in the morning, out in the afternoon. And so the flight's always full. Well, it got canceled that Thursday because there was a part that needed to be maintenanced on their plane, and the regional airport didn't have the part. So they canceled the flight. Well, they couldn't get on a flight until Sunday. My flight was the next day. I wasn't going to leave them there for a couple of days. So by the time Sarah and I get back to the airport, pick them up, we start to try to figure out travel. Like everybody that was on the flight out of San Luis Obispo to Dallas has already at this point rebooked out of Santa Barbara. So there's no flights out of Santa Barbara going to Dallas the next day. So I had to fly us out of LAX that Friday instead. So we went back to the airport, rented a car, then picked up Sarah's stuff, finished moving her in, and the next morning, me and the ladies woke up super early. Luckily, I still had the hotel, so that worked out. We woke up super early, dropped off Sarah at her dorm 'cause she had RA training, and then we drove down to LAX, and then we flew home, and everything was fine and it worked out. But like there was just that difficulty that just doesn't even seem like why? Like why, you know? And then the same thing here. Like, okay, so I'm recording this right now on Friday, September 13th at 10:05 p.m. And the reason I'm doing it right now is because I have been trying to record an episode since Monday. And there have been nonstop reasons all week long why I can't get it done. For instance, yesterday, all my batteries were just dead. And I had been charging all of my camera batteries, but they were just, I hadn't even used them. They were just all dead. So I couldn't film all day because it took all day to charge them. And I had other things going on, and so I couldn't get to it. And then I wanted to get it done earlier today, and then I didn't feel like it. I was tired. I had a long day at work. It's been emotional. I was at the cemetery visiting David. I just get really emotional on weekends. And I came home, and honestly, I was about to I was laying down in bed. It was 9 o'clock. I was already laying down. I wasn't in pajamas or anything, but I was just like laying down. And I was for sure feeling sorry for myself and just feeling like I miss my husband desperately and I'm so lonely for him specifically. And I don't know, all of a sudden I just had this feeling like I need to get up and record this episode. So I got up and I started to get myself ready to do it. Well, the battery that was in my camera was stuck. I couldn't get it out. The one that was not one of the ones that wasn't charged. I was trying to put in a charged battery and I couldn't get it out. So I literally had to get two knives and struggle to get it out of the camera, but I got it out. And then I go to turn on my computer and my computer's crashed and rebooting itself. It's just, it feels like the universe is fighting against me right now. But I'm powering through and I'm recording. Over the summer, Sarah and I recorded quite a bit. We recorded an episode, like an intro episode to the summer together, her and I and Raven, and we vlogged a lot throughout the summer, the things that we did, and I intended to give updates and give episodes on how things were going between the two of us and how things were going in regards to our journey with healing and adapting and her being home and what that's been looking like. And then I have other conversations that I just kind of want to discuss in regards to my grief journey. And I just didn't have, it was rough, and I didn't have the motivation to edit any of the episodes. So honestly, I don't even know if I'll go back and edit them and actually publish any of it. I may just make all new episodes from here out going forward. I do have interview with a TikToker who lost her husband a couple of years ago, and I would like to still post that one. That may have to be a 2-part episode because it's a really long conversation, but I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like going forward, except I do definitely want to get on here and talk to you because I feel like I have so much to talk about in my head. And if I'm completely honest, I'm probably not doing that great. I'm a mess. On any given day, I'm emotional and angry and not in a good mood and messy. And in the same damn day, I can also be hyper focused, getting shit done. I'm not bipolar, but it's on any given day, my emotions are on polar opposite ends of the spectrum. And I just can't seem to get anywhere with that. I go from being hopeless about having absolutely no hope or interest in the future, and then also being fuck, I have to make my wildest dreams come true because David's gone, and if I don't do it for him and myself, then what the fuck is all this for? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? So I'm just all over the place right now. So that doesn't help in trying to parent two 20-year-olds at the same time and have us adapt to our new reality and, steer them in the right direction and hopefully happy, successful adults that David and I were trying to shape them into, and then also figure out like, who the hell am I supposed to be now going forward? And, and I feel guilty even thinking about the fact that I have to try to figure out who I am now and who I'm going to be going forward and for the rest of my life. It just feels very selfish, and I feel guilty thinking about that without my husband. I know that it's been a year, but everybody who said like, it's been, oh, the first few months are the hardest, or the first 6 months are the hardest, or the first year is the hardest and it gets easier. Nothing has fucking gotten easier for me. It feels the same. It feels the exact same for me as, maybe I do eat a little more than I did those first couple of months but I for sure lately have regressed, and I'm not eating a lot again because I'm just really kind of disgusted with things that have gone on in life and circumstances getting towards the 1 year mark of losing my husband. And so when I'm an unhappy person, I have no interest in eating. So I'm definitely not, I'm not eating well, but I am trying to be mindful to eat something nutritious when I do eat. And I am trying to be mindful about moving my body in some sort of exercise at least a few times a week. But okay, so for me, it feels the same. Like, yeah, maybe I'm also not crying all day long like I did before, and I'm able to actually put calories in my body to have energy to get shit done throughout the day. But like emotionally, like I have not moved forward. I have not moved on. I have not adjusted. I have not adapted. Maybe I've adapted a little bit. I mean, obviously there's things I have to do around the house that I didn't, that David used to do with me that I have to do alone, and things that I have to do for the girls that David used to do with me that now I do alone. So yeah, I guess I have adapted in some ways, but I haven't adapted in a way of like, I'm ready to like figure out who I am and move on or move forward in my life. I'm so not ready for that. And so I work on the salon throughout the week. That's my main focus right now. And I can't even decide, do I want to go back to a corporate job? I really don't. What I'd like to do is just focus on the salon, focus on that business, grow that business, and focus on my podcast. And then I have some other projects in mind that I really would like to focus on and get done as well too. So I don't know, but I'm definitely in a space where I am isolating myself, I guess. I've always been a person who is okay with time on my own, like me time. I don't have a problem with me time. But now I think it's to the point where it's like, I'm not in the mood to be around people. I don't want to go out and do things. I don't enjoy like just having like social occasions to like go hang out or go see a sports game or something, which is something David and I did all the time. And I did that even before I met David. Like I loved like baseball games and football games and things like that. I don't want to do anything like that right now. It's even if I did do something, like I don't want to, that's not where I want to put my energy to like socializing and going and sitting at a game. I'm not drinking right now. I don't really have a lot of interest in drinking. I'm just, man, I sound like I'm definitely sounding like I'm probably not healthy. But I'm hoping this is just part of the process of grief and me learning how to adapt at some point. I'm only going to bring this up because it's come up recently, and it came up in the conversation that I had with Erin Bruce, who is the TikToker that I want to publish the episode of the interview that I did with her, or the episodes of the interview that I did with her here soon. But, we talk about like other men showing interest, and I'm not anywhere near wanting to give any attention or get any attention from another man. I'm still in love with my husband. I miss my husband. I don't even want to think about anyone else getting near me or being in my realm or in my world or a part of my daily. I don't want to be obligated to anyone. I mean, I'm struggling being obligated to like my kids and my mom my dad, my sister, like the most important people in my life. I'm struggling being obligated to them. Like that's enough. That's enough to deal with on a daily basis right now. I don't know. That's where I am right now. So now it's Friday the 13th and it's 10 o'clock at night. And I'm hoping I can edit this and publish it by 6 a.m. Saturday morning and, start over anew. Start over where every week I have an episode published by 6 a.m. and I'm talking more in depth about individual aspects of this entire grief process and this journey and what it's looking like and the people that I've encountered, like Erin, or I also a few months back met another widow who lost her husband a couple years ago in a car accident as well here in North Texas, North Dallas area. And her name's Wendy, and I'd like to bring her on and talk with her, and she's doing some amazing things, and I want to be able to share that. And so I didn't really have a lot of a point to this particular episode, except that I needed to get over this hump. I needed to get over all of these little issues and all of these little like tests and complications I was having in trying to get this episode done. I just needed to overcome them, and I needed to get it recorded, and I needed to get it out and published into the world. So that way I'm starting something again. I'm starting it new. I've got a new vibration energy that I've put out in the world versus the one that's been going on for 9 weeks, for the 9 weeks that I haven't been posting episodes. And maybe that is part of me trying to adjust. Maybe that's part of me grieving. Maybe that's part of me moving forward. I don't know, but I'm just trying to follow my instincts. I'm trying to follow my gut. I'm trying to hear God's voice and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just felt like at 10 o'clock today, that this is what I needed to be doing. So for the rest of the year, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if I'm going to edit and put out any of what Sarah and I recorded during the summer. We'll see. But I do want to give you an idea of some of the things that I do intend to cover going forward. I do want to do a more in-depth episode in regards to financial implications in regards to losing a loved one, and give a more detailed look of what that looks like and my suggestions of what can be done to prepare for that, to make sure that you're in a better place. And I may even just give some suggestions, not from specifically like funeral planning, but just for planning from like a life insurance and investment standpoint. Again, I'm not, like I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm not an expert, but I have some thoughts based on my experience and conversations I've had with other people who had these similar experiences to mine. I want to talk about the emotional stages of grief, and I want to talk about things that go through somebody who's grieving, that go through their mind on a daily basis. Kind of earlier, how I talked about how like my emotions are like on opposite ends of the spectrum all in the same day multiple times. So I want to talk about like what that looks like. I want to talk about what are signs that grievers are giving with their actions, like what that means or what you can interpret as a loved one or a friend of what may be going on internally with the person, your loved one or your friend who's grieving, based on the kind of the actions or signs that they're showing. I want to talk about how like my grief is not just the grief of me losing David, but it's also of losing our future and our plans. And me in particular, I grieve. I don't feel like I have a great memory for some of the like smaller details in life. What my brain chooses to retain as far as information tends to be like educational, informational, factual, things like that. Some of like the beautiful, intimate detail moments of life that seem insignificant and are nuanced, I tend to forget those kinds of things. And I'm grieving the idea of not being able to hang on to every single one of those on a daily basis and not wanting to forget them and feeling guilty about it. I'd like to talk about the fact that I still don't think that I don't think I've accepted that David's not coming back. And almost every day I still have a moment where I'm like, damn, he's not coming back. The other day I heard my mom tell my daughter, that because my mom lost her dad when she was like 5, and she said something to the effect to Sarah, like, my dad never came back. And I just thought, fuck, David's never coming back. And I just can't accept it. I want to talk about the physical implications of grieving and the tiredness and fatigue associated with it. I want to talk about the guilt I feel in accomplishing things and the sadness I feel in accomplishing things since my husband has left. I feel like if I do have an obligation in this life, it's to be successful and do something with myself, with my life that I want to do for him. But then I also feel guilty for hitting milestones without him. And then also I've had a couple of psychic readings in regards to David, and I don't know if I'm going to share the details of them, but I think I might, because that is a really big part of what I guess my current relationship with my husband is, and how I believe he sends me signs and things like that. So I think I might share that. And if you don't believe in those things, that's okay. And if you think I'm crazy for believing in those things, that's your business. It's not my business what you think of me, but that's just what I think. And so I'm going to share it. And so, maybe I'll talk about that too. But either way, I'm glad that you came back today to this episode, because I know that it's been 9 weeks since I posted an episode. And it's almost 57 weeks since I lost my husband. It'll be 57 weeks tomorrow. So I appreciate you coming back. And you can come back next Saturday and join me, and we can continue to talk about what it's like in my casa. And if you'd like to talk about what it's like in your casa with me, send me an email. I'll talk to you soon.